will be introducing all of you to our very special guest today. I know you're all as excited as I am. So, Suzy Bills is an editor, an author, and a former faculty member in the editing and publishing program at BYU. She's owned a writing and editing business since 2006. She works with clients, helping them publish everything from books to dissertations to technical manuals. She loves sharing her skills with others, whether through teaching, helping authors get their thoughts on papers, or fine-tuning their writing. Her book, The Freelance Editor's Handbook, was published in 2021. And one of the incredible things about Suzy is that she runs sub 3 hour marathons. So, Suzy, welcome to our group. And am I missing anything about your bio or introduction that you'd like to mention or say?
I think that was great. Thanks.
And then, do you want to tell us where you're based out of Utah, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. The networking link here is going to be that I was at the ACES conference, I believe it was last year, and I heard
Yeah.
Suzy was going to be there, and we had a chance to organize an impromptu dinner with a bunch of editors and went to dinner and learned more about Suzy fangirling and then, talking about her book and the amazing things that she does. So I felt that she would be a great person to have here since she has so much experience as a freelance copy editor, and many of you are just starting off or are pivoting and are learning, what works and what doesn't work. And that's the main reason we're hoping she'll share information with us and her secrets. And Suzy, one of the things, I'm going to let you speak, but one of the things we kind of came up with three things to talk about. And one of the things was, what are three things that you think editors should be looking at right now? um, how to adopt maybe a more strategic business mindset, how to position themselves, and then three ways we all might be able to increase productivity at work. And we can definitely go off topic into other topics as well, depending on your time and what you'd like to share with us today. So let's do it.
Hey, awesome. Thanks. And Linda is really the best networker. And that is why she wrote the book on it because she is just amazing. I am so impressed. Like, she just reached out to me before we had ever met in person, just emailed me this great email. And I'm just amazed by Linda. And she's like, the person to follow in terms of networking. So it's I'm excited to be here, and I think it's really cool that you all get to learn from her. So yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I have been freelancing for a long time, and I've learned a lot of things on how to make it go better. And that's why I wrote the book, because I learned a lot of things. There wasn't really a resource out there on how to be a successful freelance editor. And so I just learned it kind of through trial and error, through reading a lot of other things, learning from other freelance editors. And then I started teaching at BYU, and students would ask me how to go about freelancing. So I created a course on it, and I talk about it at a lot of conferences. So I just love freelancing. I love helping other people learn how to make it better for them to be more enjoyable. So I put together some ideas, some thoughts on the kind of three topic areas that we wanted to cover today. And so I'll just start sharing those things, but I am happy, feel free to stop me, ask questions. I We can also spend some time at the end just asking and answering questions, but I'm happy to make it a discussion as we go. So this is as beneficial for you as possible. So I did create, Linda, I should have asked you, is it okay if I share my screen with,
Absolutely.
okay,
You should have access to share your
great.
screen.
Okay. So let me just get that going.
And I'm going to put your website in the chat too, so people
Okay,
have.
great. So let me get this all the way. Um, okay, so this is a new laptop, so I don't have everything set up. So, okay, so three things to look into now. First thing I want to talk about is just, what do you want your business to be in a year? Right? And maybe if it feels like you're just starting out and you say, "Well, I don't a year from now," that's really hard to know because I'm still figuring things out about even what kind of content I want to edit. So maybe it's 6 months from now. But create that vision for the future because I think oftentimes whether you're just getting started out and you're saying, I just need to find clients now. I need to be making some money now. Or maybe you already have clients coming in and you feel like I'm a little bit overwhelmed with all the work coming in or people that I'm giving quotes to. We have to take time to think about what we want our business to be in the future, or our business is gonna just kind of sit there. And it might be fine. We might enjoy it, but we'll enjoy it even more and it'll be helping us fulfill our business goals, but also some of our personal goals if we envision now what we want it to be in the future. So then we can be taking some steps toward making that happen, making that the reality. So I want you to think about some questions. And these are some just examples, and you can think of other ones as well, but these are good ones to start with. So what types of clients do you want to have? Okay, so I think it was Darcy was saying, yeah, I think I want to edit cookbooks. So do you want to maybe you want your clients to be self-publishing cookbook authors, you want them to be publishers who publish cookbooks. So maybe that's it. Maybe you want to have uh oh well several of you said you want to work on memoirs. So maybe you want to work with indie authors who are publishing the memoirs. And so figuring out, okay, who do I want my clients to be? What characteristics? So are they businesses? Are they individuals? If they're businesses, are they big businesses, they're publishers, or are they more of in the technical space? So, for example, until all the craziness with the government recently, federal government, I was doing a lot of government editing. And so maybe, ideal client is the government or membership associations. So figuring out what do you want your clients and what kind of characteristics do they have? Do they pay quickly? Do they give you regular work? So think through all those things. And then related to that, what kind of projects do you want to work on? So is it memoirs? Is it cookbooks? Is it novels? So I love the equestrian novels. Wow, that's a cool niche. And so, okay, knowing that that's what you want to do you also want to just maybe you want to supplement that with could you work on scholarly journal articles in the equestrian area? So, what kind of projects, are they short ones? Was talking about attention spans, so probably needing to do shorter ones, or do you like longer ones? I really like projects that are big. So I've worked on some nonfiction books that are 1,000 plus pages. And I'm fine with continuing that, not having kind of a break in the topic. And so figuring out what kind of projects you want to have. So length, genre, so forth. Also, how many hours do you want to work per week or month? Because things vary by month. And I know some people who even think of it more as a quarter. So they have a number of hours they want to work per quarter, a number that they want to make per quarter. And that gives them a little bit more variation. So, if one month is a little bit slower, then that next month in the quarter might be busier. And so that quarterly goal for hours and earnings. So kind of figure that out, where are you now and where do you want to be in terms of how much work you have per week or month and how much you're making. Okay. So these are some of the essential foundational questions that you want to think about and then analyze, okay, where am I now compared? So, do you want to be working 5 hours a week? Or sorry, not a week. That would be nice, right? 5 hours a day, and that's the number that feels good for you. Okay, where are you right now? Are you getting enough work to do 3 hours a day? So you need to ramp up getting in more work, or maybe you feel like I am pretty good where I am right now in terms of number of hours worked, but I want to increase the amount I'm making, so I need to get work that's higher paying. Okay, so this is where you start to figure out where I am. This is where I envision my business in a year from now. So, what do I need to be doing to get to that reality? So, that's where we have going into the second tip or strategy is what steps you need to take to achieve your vision. So, you've kind of answered the questions on the previous slide, and now thinking, all right, well, I want to work with memoirs. So, who do I need to start networking with now so that I have more memoir projects a year from now? And, hopefully even sooner than that, right? 6 months from now, maybe even 3 months from now. But what do you need to start doing now? And realize that it does take time. So a lot of the networking marketing strategies, they are a long tail strategy. You're not going to necessarily get the work next week, but you just have to put in that work, and over time you will start to see the results of your work. But just know that you do need to start now. You can't just wait until the month that you want things to happen and to see that actually happen. Okay. So who can you start networking with now? And where do you find them? Do you find them at conferences? Publishing conferences, conferences for authors? Do you find them, maybe you want to work with publishers uh, for, again, let's say, the cookbooks. And so find them, publishers of cookbooks, find them on LinkedIn and find who those managing editors are and start interacting with them on LinkedIn. So that could be a way to get, you know, help them become familiar with you and then maybe reach out to you when they have a need for another editor. So along with that, and obviously read Linda's book if you haven't already. She will give, tons of great information on how to do the networking part of it. And then along with that, the marketing. So that goes into okay, I want to network with this person on LinkedIn. So how do I then start kind of implementing that with my marketing strategy? So on LinkedIn, are you publishing posts regularly? So if you want to get seen or more likely to get found on LinkedIn, you need to be publishing something at least weekly, and that just increases your visibility on LinkedIn. So make sure that you are regularly posting things and also commenting on other people's posts and just being active on there. Okay, maybe you want to work with self-publishing authors, and so you find groups for self-publishing memoir authors on Facebook or another social media platform. And so figuring out where your ideal clients are congregating and then how to start talking with them and showing that you have editing skills. So when somebody asks about what is the grammar, and I've seen this in various author groups of saying, okay, explain the editing rule for this situation, or I have some other question that you might be able to answer. So answer that question. Show in your responses to posts that you have this knowledge, this experience. And then when they later post, hey, I'm looking for an editor, your name already is familiar to them. You've already shown that you have this knowledge that you can share. And hopefully you've already established somewhat of a relationship because of that interaction in, say, an author group.
Susie,
Okay, so
sorry to
yeah.
jump in. Somebody, had a meeting with an SEO expert that somebody wanted me to meet a few weeks ago, and one of the things that she recommended to me that I'm very much on the fence on because I'm like I've never. She was like, you need to be on Reddit. You need to be answering comments on,
Mm.
and I was like, really? Like Reddit? Like I don't see myself. But have you ever tried that, or have you heard of anybody like? It's I don't know. I'm not a Reddit person, but.
Yeah, I haven't. I think it depends again on who your ideal clients are. So I know that like I think in some fiction areas,
Mm.
those authors will be on Reddit. And so I think it's all about figuring out where your ideal clients are
Course, yeah.
because if you're again like fiction, your ideal author clients might not be hanging out on LinkedIn. So
Totally.
posting on LinkedIn isn't going to be as helpful. So it's figuring out where your
Yeah.
people are.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot like for fantasy or paranormal, there's like Discord channels or fan fiction
Mhm.
channels on Discord that a lot of people follow. So that
Yeah.
may be another. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and so it's kind of doing the research, figuring out where those people are. And it's okay to ask other editors. I think in general, p editors are willing to help each other out and saying, "Where do I find, this type of author, this type of client?" People will give you some ideas of where they were able to kind of get into that niche. And so, yeah, ask people and yeah, that would be interesting to I haven't seen in any editing forums that I'm a member of, editors talking about being in Reddit, but that would be an interesting question to ask and know if like that is where some editors are getting clients. I
Yeah.
hadn't heard of that one.
Or even test it out maybe for a month and see if
Mhm.
it's like worth or
Yeah.
because I think it's just another platform, the same as like the Facebook groups, the same as the
Mhm.
like you were saying, the LinkedIn groups. It's like who's hanging out where and what. So that's the definitely the secret sauce is learn where your clients are hanging out or your potential
Yeah.
clients are.
Yeah, exactly. I think a couple other things is just making sure that you can achieve your vision is probably you're going to there are other people in your life that you need to talk about it with. So maybe, whether you're married, you have a partner, you have family members, kids, talk with them about, hey, these are my goals. And maybe these are some things that are going to need to change so that I can achieve my goals. And so maybe it's like and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but like when I'm editing, I need to be able to focus on editing and not be interrupted every 10 minutes. And so talk through with them, explain, this is why I have this vision. This is what I want to do. And what are some of the benefits that those people, family members or whoever are going to see from you being able to achieve your vision and help them, get their buy-in. And there might be other things that you need to do. So I would say just take some time after we finish our discussion today of like answering those questions and then thinking, okay, what do I need to do? What are 5 things I can do this week to start working toward my vision? And really, it's helpful. Break it up into little small parts. You don't want it to feel overwhelming because if it's overwhelming, you're not going to really work toward it, right? So just the little things you can do that will move you a little bit closer. Okay, the third thing I want to talk about in this area, just like things to be thinking about now, is what professional development opportunities are there. I Sounds like some of you have recently completed some editing training, so you're off to a good start. What other things can you be doing to increase your editing skills or maybe to expand your services? So you have copy editing skills. Some of you, think you said developmental editing. So maybe could you develop skills in another type of editing? Or if you're working with indie authors, a lot of them need help not only editing their books, but then also preparing to publish like an ebook, converting the file into an ebook and publishing it on Amazon. So if you know how to create an ebook, that would be really helpful. So are there some trainings, things that you can learn just online that you can do? They're one going to help you achieve your vision or stay relevant or increase your value, including through extra services that you're offering to clients. And also, what's going to be really enjoy? Are you really interested in something? You just want to learn more about it because it seems really cool. Then explore those too. And so I just think that's something really important that again, it can be easy to put off, but I think we always should be doing something to improve our skills for professional development. And so a very simple thing that I do on a regular basis, almost daily, is I just get into a couple or a few editing forums and see what people have posted. Sometimes they'll share interesting articles on relevant topics. Sometimes they'll ask questions and I'll, read the question and I'll say, "Oh, how do I answer this?" And so I'll think of my answer and then I'll look and see, okay, has somebody already responded? And if somebody has already given the answer, then I'll just do a like. But it also helps me see, okay, did I respond or would I respond the same way that these other people were responding? So it's a way for me to kind of check my knowledge, and it might be specific to APA style or Chicago style. So it's just helping me say, oh, yep, I got this. Or, oh, I hadn't thought about this aspect. And so somebody else brought it up and helped me think about things more broadly or in a specific situation. And so just that's a way for me to kind of regularly 10 minutes, but regularly be saying, okay, yeah, I'm learning something, or I'm able to contribute to somebody else's learning. And so I think that's one of the great things about the overall editing community is overall editors are so ready to help authors. Obviously that's one of the reasons we're in this, right? But it also help other editors. And so uh it's an opportunity to just contribute to the editing community by answering other people's questions, but also it gives you a chance to kind of check your own knowledge as well and grow in your knowledge of editing. So I would say set some goals of just what are some things you can do either on like a daily basis or maybe it's once a month, some kind of regular frequency of what can you be doing to make sure that you're always improving your skills. Any thoughts, questions at this point?
No, I like that idea, that daily practice of scrolling and seeing, okay, what's being posted, what's being commented. One of the things that I think is so valuable about that from those of us that are like, I don't want to call myself a content creator, but someone who's like paying attention, is just understanding trends, what's happening, because a lot of times things that get discussed might be projects that are happening in the publishing industry that these editors are taking on, and we're starting to see more of that. So
Mhm.
paying attention to those forums, it gives you a really good pulse of what is everybody worried about? What
Yeah.
is everybody working on? What's
Mhm.
happening, in the academic world that I'm not, because I don't do academic editing, or what's happening, how can I, there's an expression in Spanish which is like open your umbrella. How can you open your umbrella and just be like ready if that's going to trickle down to, that storm is coming your way? So that's a really great point. Instead of being on my Instagram account in the morning, being on the forums and looking at what the conversations are. I like that.
Yeah, great. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Okay, let's just go on to, oh, I decided to add in a little bonus tip on this first aspect of things to be thinking about now. Save money for retirement. Just set aside some money. And it doesn't have to be a ton. Even if it's just $10 a month for right now, get something going. And so just to kind of emphasize the importance of this. How much more will you have at age 65 if you start contributing $100 a month to a retirement account at age 30 instead of age 40? Anybody want to throw in a guess? Okay, ready? Oops, why didn't it? There we go. Okay. 115,000 more. And how much, that's largely due to the interest because the actual amount that you contributed more is just 12,000. Okay, so if you contribute 12,000 more, you will have approximately $115,000 more just if you start contributing 10 years sooner. Okay, what if you're already past 30? It's fine, just start whenever you can, and whatever little amount you can is going to make a difference. So it's called the law of compounding interest. So basically, you just get the money into that retirement savings account, and it is because it's making interest, it is working a lot faster for you. You'll get a lot more money than if you just stuff the money under your bed, right? So, whatever amount you can contribute, do it. There are lots of options for freelancers. So, I think people are more familiar with options if you're an employee somewhere, but there are lots of opportunities for freelancers. So you can do Roth IRA, traditional IRA. There's a solo 401k for self-employed people. So just find an option. And if you want more information, there's a chapter in my book that you can get more information on retirement options, saving options. There's lots of information online, and honestly, financial advisors can give you a lot of guidance, and you should not have to pay for an initial consultation with a financial advisor. Usually, they make their money by getting a small percentage fee from any retirement accounts that you open through them. So ask them for feedback, for guidance on what might be a good option for you. I have several different financial or retirement accounts. For example, one, I set it up so it just pulls out money from one of my bank accounts the beginning of every month. So I don't have to think about it. I just know it's going to be pulled out and it's going into a retirement account. So when I want to retire, I'm going to have that money in there. I have some family members who've retired who were really good about putting money into retirement savings, and they are in a great spot enjoying the retirement years. I have a family member who never really thought about retirement and is now in a pretty difficult financial situation during retirement because of not doing anything in preparation.
I love this. This
So,
is really great
yeah.
information because this is definitely not something that gets talked about at all. So this is excellent. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Linda. Yeah, so just like I said, any amount, even if right now it's just $10, and then once your freelance business is more established, then you increase it to 20 and you keep increasing it. You will be so grateful later on. Okay. So make this one of your action items of things to do to get going. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to 3 ways to adopt a more strategic business mindset. And the things I already talked about, some of them like the business vision, that's definitely, relate to the strategic mindset, but we're going to talk about some more specific ones that are going to help you in your business and just make the business, establishing it, running it, uh more effective, successful in the long term. So the first one is you want to treat your business as a business, okay? So first, call yourself a business owner. You're not just a freelance editor. I think it maybe seems like a small difference, but I think subconsciously it can make a difference for us, and it also makes a difference for people we talk to. I think a lot of people when they hear freelancer like, "Oh, freelancer is just kind of a little wishy-washy, and maybe you'll be freelancing today, you won't be freelancing tomorrow." But if you're a business owner, that's a more stable, long-term thing. And so you mean business and you are a business. And so think about that. What would a business owner do? And you need to do those things that a business owner would do. Okay? Couple of things with that, just have your business website and LinkedIn profile. Business websites, it's not typically that people are just going to find your business website by a Google search. For most people, that's not the purpose. It's to be your business card once people have learned about you. I don't know have a count of the times that people, when I'm saying, "Hey, I heard about this opportunity. I'd be happy, to talk with you," and or, "Hey, send my information on to this person who's looking for an editor." And they always want my business website. They want to know, is this person legit? Do they have a lot of content there? Looking at the content to see what kind of content are there errors, grammatical errors in it, or is this person showing that he or she has editing skills? So they want to know that it presents you as a professional. It doesn't have to be super big or really fancy, impressive. It can be pretty basic, but you need to show that, yep, I am legit as a business by having a website. Also, LinkedIn profile. If you're not going to be doing a ton of networking, marketing on LinkedIn, I don't think you need to spend as much time on it, but people will check your LinkedIn profile. Okay. So get your profile if you don't already have one. Make sure the most important things have a professional looking image of yourself, have a really standout tagline. So that's like saying, what do you do? So don't just say I'm a freelance editor, have some kind of value statement. So I'm a freelance editor who helps companies communicate clearly. All right. So that will separate you a little bit from the hundreds of thousands of other editors on LinkedIn. And then really make sure that in your description, your about section, that you explain what can you do for potential clients and what is, your background, what skills do you have? And so that's a place to use a lot of keywords so that when people are searching for you, whether on LinkedIn or just on the web in general, that you're more likely to come up because you've mentioned editor, editing, writing, publishing, memoir, whatever, many times. And so Google or LinkedIn is saying, oh, this person must actually have memoir editing skills because she's mentioned it so many times in her profile. Okay. So that's another thing. Some other things, open a business bank account, especially if some types of business entities that you are, like if you're an LLC, then you need a separate business bank account. But even if you're just a sole proprietor, then you just want it. It is a more professional, but it also helps at tax time. And it just helps you keep personal separate from your business. And again, it's helping remind you that you are a business, not just a dabbling freelancer. Uh, and it's good to have, like, if you're getting direct deposits for projects, that it's going right into your business account and so forth. Establish goals for your business. And so that could be related to the vision that we already talked about. What are those goals related to hours worked, money made, and so forth? But make sure that you have goals and that you're then tracking them and making sure, how am I doing in achieving these goals? Okay, so that could be related to tracking your income, tracking expenses, productivity. And so, in terms of productivity, I look at, okay, did I put in the number of hours that I'm planning to work this week? Did I actually do it? Or did I put in the number of hours today that I needed to work? Also, that can be in terms of, I quoted I was going to be able to finish this project in 5 hours. Did I? Or did I underestimate the time required? Did I overestimate the time required? So that I'm using to kind of refine my quotes in the future. So if I'm noticing that, well, I thought I was going to be able to finish this project in 5 hours and it actually took me 7, then I need to be adjusting my when I'm estimating the time required so that I can give better estimates. And so, like, analyze, why did I take longer? Was I distracted, interrupted by things, by people? Was I tired? Did I just not kind of account for the unexpected that comes up in editing a document? So look at that and figure out, how do I need to adjust to be more accurate?
Susie, can I pop in quickly? Do
Yeah.
you recommend any project tracking software, or are you more of a spreadsheet and the little, oh my God,
Yeah.
little timer? I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah, I like to use Toggle for
Toggle.
tracking my time.
Okay.
It's toggl.com. And there's a free option, and that's what I've used for years. And it's nice, like it can track, okay, by different project, by different client, hours spent, and I can go back in years and see like how things have changed. So I like to use that for time tracking. For more project management, I use an Excel spreadsheet. I know that there are a lot of different project management tools. Some people like Asana or shoot, I just There's
I use
one.
Dubsado, but
Okay,
Dubsado is a
Dubsado.
little bit more complex with accounting
Mm-hmm.
and project management and things like that. But
Yeah. And there's Trello. And so there, if you want to try different programs, I would say try a few if one doesn't fit your needs. So some people really like the setup of Trello, for example. I That does not work for my brain very well. So it doesn't help me in managing projects. So I found in trying different things that an Excel spreadsheet works best for me. So with all these different types of apps, find one, try out a few, and if the first one doesn't work well for you, don't necessarily give up on them entirely. Just try out a few to see if there's one that works better for you. But again, we're all different. One person might love this and you might not. So know that it just takes some trial and error to figure out what works for you. Yeah, great question. Uh, so, well, let's go on. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to go through some of these quickly because I want to get to some other thoughts. So establish boundaries for your clients, for your family partner, friends, and for yourself. So let clients know how quickly you're going to respond to emails. So I had somebody email me we'd been talking through the last week, and then she emailed me on Sunday, and I don't respond to emails on Sunday. I don't look at emails on Sunday. And then she emailed me again Monday morning. She's like, just want to make sure that you saw this. And, I hadn't explained to her that, yeah, I just don't look at emails on Sunday. So I got what you sent me, but, that's why you didn't hear back from me until Monday. So let people know how quickly you'll respond, what time of the day you look at emails. And it can be a really good idea to then, only respond during those hours. So even if you decide, well, I'm going to work in the evening because that works well for me, if you want to have your business hours just 9 to 5, then wait to send that email until the next day. You can even use programs, apps, or add-ins into your email that will send a file automatically. You can say, okay, send this email at 9 a.m. So you can do that way. And that just helps clients know, okay, these are my boundaries. And so you know what to expect, and you will probably not break them. For family, friends, kind of like we talked about before, explain why it's important for you to have, for example, uninterrupted times, why that's going to make a difference in your editing, why, if you aren't interrupted, you'll finish your work faster and you can spend time with those people sooner. Establish do not disturb hours. If you have kids, it can be helpful to put a reminder on your door. Maybe you have like a stop sign, like a little poster on one side. It's like green, so the kids know that, oh, it's okay to come in and talk to me. And on the other side, it's red, so they know, oh, okay, not right now unless there's an emergency. So just think through, and again, get the buy-in from them. So it needs to be collaboration to make it work for everybody, but explaining why it's important that you have these boundaries and how it's going to be beneficial for them as well as you. A couple other things. So establish boundaries for yourself too. All right. I know it can be hard sometimes. Decide when you will and won't work. Are you going to work in the evening? Are you going to work on the weekend? If somebody has a rush project, will you make an exception? Are you going to work on holidays? Decide all those things. Also, when you are not working, don't do work. Don't check emails. Don't do the other things because your brain really does need the break. And if you are just constantly on, you're more likely to get burned out. Even if you aren't spending tons of extra hours, if it feels like you're always doing work, it's not going to feel good. Okay. So it might take some practice, some discipline in the beginning just to say, nope, not going to check the email. It can wait until tomorrow morning. It's going to be fine. And when you're with other people, be present with them. Don't be on your phone looking at emails, responding, doing work, and so forth, because you want to show them the respect and the Also, likewise, you want them to respect you when you are working. So when you're not supposed to be working, set work aside. It's going to be very good for you mentally, as well as physically. Okay. So now, third part of the ways increasing our just strategic business mindset, be confident in the value, especially in terms of the money that you're charging. Okay. State your fee with confidence. I know that can be really hard. There was a couple weeks ago when I met in person with somebody and she asked me, okay, for this service, what is the price? And I still had to, there's a little bit of apprehension before I said, okay, well, this is my consulting fee. And because I was afraid, well, what if she says, oh, well, that's too much? And thinking, why would she charge? Who does she think she is to be able to charge this much? So just practice role playing it with family, with friends to feel confident. And what's the worst that's going to happen? They might say, oh, well, that's out of my budget. And if it is, you can talk. You can talk about it and say, oh, I understand everybody has a different budget. Or you can talk about, okay, well, what is your budget? And let's see what is possible within your budget. So it's a starting place, but don't be afraid. And I've found, uh, I'm just trying to think if there's ever been a time when I've just told somebody, okay, this is my fee, I've gotten a bad reaction. Never. Okay. Almost always they've just said, oh, okay. And I've been really surprised because I have thought, oh, they're not going to accept that. No way. But they just say, okay, sounds good. I just yesterday gave a price quote on something that I thought was more expensive than the person was going to be fine with. And she came back, she said, sounds good. Okay. So just have that confidence and it's okay. Don't lower your fee because you're afraid you're not going to get it, that somebody's going to say that's too much. And you're never going to know unless you try using that fee. If you get the feedback, they are saying, that's more than we have a budget for, then again, you can go from there and say, okay, well, how can we scale things back to make it work for both of us? If you're never getting pushback on your fees, you need to increase them. Okay. Getting a little pushback sometimes is a good sign because it helps you know that, like, okay, I'm about where I need to be on what I charge. Right. So if everybody is just accepting your fee, then it's time to try increasing it. I find a good time is when I just have work scheduled for a bit, and so I don't feel like I need another project in my schedule right now. And so when somebody comes and says, "Hey, I have this project, can you give me a price quote?" I'll experiment with increasing my fees and see what they say. And if they say, okay, this sounds good, then I say, okay, this is my new regular fee. I'm going to be charging everybody this. And if it is if they're not okay with the fee, then I just make note of it. I still try that fee again and see what that next person's response is, because maybe it's just that one person. But if I keep getting feedback saying, no, that's too much, then that's good data and telling me, okay, at least with this kind of clientele, this market, that that fee is probably too much. But it's giving you good feedback on what kind of the sweet spot is. And just think, I know that sometimes, especially starting out, it can feel like I just need to accept whatever projects come my way, even if it's low paying. But if you always do that, that's always the type of paying clients you're going to get. All right. So don't always say, yeah, sure, I'll lower my fee for you, because you're just going to keep getting people who can pay about that amount. So t- don't get stuck in there.
Susie, one of the things that we were talking about a few weeks ago, because of this mindset that we have in the editing or maybe the writing and publishing world, that we question the value. But I was telling them I'm in the middle of a house renovation. I really like my contractor. He was recommended to me by somebody that I really trust. He comes to me and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna, this is gonna cost $400." I flinch because I'm like, oh, another four. But then I'm like, well, if he's saying it, it must be, it must be that we need it. It must. I trust him. He knows what he's doing, and I pay it. I'm not. I don't go and question it unless it's exorbitant. But
Mm-hmm.
the same way we trust service providers that do other things for us and our our mechanic, our the paint. Like we know that their work has value and it's going to cost an X amount, and we don't tend to question those things. If my son has to have a private soccer lesson, I will usually not flinch at whatever it costs because it's important for him. But when it's us, we tend to forget those things, that we do have that same value because of what we've studied and how we've prepared to do these jobs. So that's a really great point.
Yeah, I love that, Linda. And I think it helps to keep that perspective. And again, like thinking about, okay, as I'm a business owner, so what do other business owners do? Business owners in other fields, contractors, coaches, whatever, do they just reduce their fees because somebody says, no, I don't want to pay that or that's too high? No, they just say, well, this is my fee. All right. And so having that same confidence and thinking, okay, what do I do when I am paying service providers? I need to do the same thing myself. Okay. Be confident in the value you provide and in what you're charging. Okay. 3 ways to increase your work productivity. I mean, in all of these topics, I could just spend hours on each one of them, and the same thing with this. So I'm just going to go through a few ones pretty fast, but these are all great, quick, easy things that you can apply to increase your productivity. So if you're not using keyboard shortcuts, start, all right? And here are just a few examples. I'm on a PC, so these are the keyboard shortcuts for PC. On a Mac, it's a little bit different. Usually it's Option instead of Control. But for example, to add a comment to a word or a sentence in a document, just do Control Alt M and it adds the comment there. Control Shift E will toggle on and off track changes. Okay, so sometimes I need to do that because there's a silent change I need to make. And so I just quickly toggle off track changes, make that silent change, toggle back on, and we're good to go with more track change editing. There are a lot of a lot of shortcut keys already assigned into your keyboard. So I would just Google what your operating system is, version of Word, and say keyboard shortcuts. And you'll get lots of lists of various ones. And I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts because it keeps things, it's a little speedier. It also is good for wrist health because it helps avoid that repetitive use of the mouse that can cause carpal tunnel and other issues. So, but honestly, using these shortcuts over time, it does save me a good amount of time. So start practicing using shortcuts to get into it. Maybe you choose 5 that you say, oh, I'm going to use that all the time. Put them on a little sticky note, put that sticky note on the corner of your computer screen. And then when you need to add a comment, then you can say, oh, instead of going up, reaching up to the ribbon and clicking add a comment, you just do Control Alt M. Right? So you get those 5 learned and then you add more. And you can also create your own shortcut keys. I've done that with a lot of things. So for example, I have styles that I'll apply in a document. I've added shortcut keys to styles, so it's really fast, like heading 1, heading 2, normal style, so I can format things really quickly. So anything that you're doing all the time, add a shortcut key so you don't have to mouse out around all the computer screen to get to what you want to do. There are also another way you can do shortcuts is to use autocorrect, or there are programs such as Text Expander or Phrase Express that you can type just a few letters and it will spit out a whole phrase or a whole paragraph for you. For example, I was working on this project and it included lots of citations, and often the citations weren't there. So I was also often adding, please insert the, well, okay, so the citations were there, but it was missing essential information in citations. So I say, please insert the publisher's location, please insert the publication year, whatever. And so I was always saying, please insert the. And so I was like, I don't want to keep typing that out. So just in autocorrect, I did the little shortcut key PII, and when I type PII, then it automatically inserts please insert the. And then I just say page number, publisher, whatever. And so it's faster for me. I chose a key combination that, like, I can't think of any words that are spelled PII. So you want to choose something that isn't just like THE because that's the. So you don't want to type out the, and every time you type the, it spits out this longer phrase. But that's a great way. With Text Expander and Phrase Express, you can do program in whole paragraphs. With autocorrect, there it's shorter. I don't know how many characters, but it's a shorter amount of text you can use. Text Expander and Phrase Express, they do have a cost for them. It's not that expensive, but that's a great way just to save yourself time if you find that you're writing the same comment over and over again, to use one of these programs just to have it, you do just a few letters and then it's boom, all there for you. So you don't have to type it out every time. Same thing if you're doing the same type of email template or email content when somebody initially emails you about a project, create a template of like, hi, this is, my process, uh, whatever you're doing regularly, automate those so you're not retyping it every time. Couple other things. Who is aware of macros, word macros? Okay, good. See some hands, nods. Use macros. These will speed up your editing, make it more accurate. And I'm a big macro geek, but I think the biggest macro geek out there is Paul Beverly. He has written hundreds, I think it's over 800 macros now, and they're all available if you go to this link. And he has videos to explain how to use the macros, how specific macros work. I think people often are a little apprehensive about using macros, but they can be really easy to use and they just speed up the editing a lot. And so let me give you some examples. Merriam Fetch, if I have a word that I need to look up in the dictionary, I just run this macro and it opens up the web browser to Merriam-Webster's website for that entry. Okay, so I have the definition right there, boom. Google Fetch, same thing, just opens up the Google search. Delete next punctuation mark. I run that macro and whatever, say I'm at the beginning of the sentence and I need to delete a comma 7 words later. I just run that macro and it deletes the comment. And I have all of these assigned to shortcut keys. So I just do one shortcut key combination and boom, that comma is deleted. All right. Case this word, that lets you uppercase or lowercase the first letter of whatever word you're at, and it will then progress to the next word so you can quickly lowercase or uppercase a lot of words in a row. And I'll show you just really quickly some of these. Proper nounalize, it will go through the document and analyze every capitalized word and then make a list and say, hey, one time you have Smith Smith, and the next time you have Smith, Smithe, you should check and see if those are the same person, but just spelled differently. That has helped me out so many times when I'm working on long documents. Page 5, it had this person's name spelled one way. Page 205, it's spelled a different way. I don't remember that it was spelled differently. And proper nounalize will say, Susie, we got some differentiation here. So check. And I've been able to fix a lot of uh, people's names spelled incorrectly in one place. It makes me look really smart and really good as an editor. And the authors are like, how in the world did she catch that? Well, I don't tell them that I used a macro, but accomplish the job, right? So I'm just going to show you really quickly some of these macros. And again, I have them all assigned to shortcut keys. So I'm going to do the shortcut key for delete the next punctuation mark. And can you see that right there? I should turn on track changes so you can see it. But my cursor is at the beginning of this. Actually, let me get it bigger. Okay, it's at the beginning of the paragraph, and I want to
I
delete
think,
that comma right
Susie,
there. Sorry.
so I think we can only see
Okay. Yeah.
your slides.
Thank you for telling me that. Let me get to. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please
Suzy
do.
and Linda, I guess, will you share these slides after the presentation?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll give them to Linda so she can share them with everybody.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, can you see my Word document
Yes,
now?
we're
Okay,
good.
great. So I do the shortcut key and boom, deleted that comma. I can do the next comma, next period. So it's that fast. So I don't have to toggle or move from one word to the next to get to that punctuation mark. It just does them immediately. Let's see. I'll just go here. If I want to change the capitalization of a word, okay. So I can, if maybe this is a title and I need every single word or most of the words capitalized, it's that fast. Okay.
Wow.
So those are two of the macros. Just to give you an idea of how much faster it can make your work by just using these macros and assigning shortcut keys to them. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is just creating a schedule. So how to produce or increase your productivity, have a schedule. Schedule in, I like to do it a week at a time. So at the beginning of the week, I know everything that's going on. I schedule in work as well as just personal things so I can see how it all fits together. Right?
Suzy, can you share your
Yeah.
screen again?
Oh,
That's
sorry.
okay.
I have the wrong setting on Zoom
No,
for
don't worry, don't worry.
sharing. Okay, let's go back here. Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint again?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so schedule in everything and see how everything is going to fit together. Make sure that when you schedule in the work, that you're actually doing the work. Okay, so that's really going to help you make sure that you are productive and on doing what you need to be on task. It can be helpful to make a to-do list at the end of a work day. So the next day when you start working, you can just look at that list and know exactly where you need to get started. Okay. Or also maybe it's helpful to do the to-do list at the beginning of the day, but that can be really helpful. Just set yourself a list of, okay, these are the things I really need to accomplish. And obviously put those things in your calendar too, so you have them. There are lots of options. Phone apps, online calendar like Google. You can use Excel spreadsheet, paper calendar. Some people have a dry erase calendar. So lots of different options of how to create that schedule, but have it somewhere. Also, I mentioned that I use a spreadsheet. There are other programs that you can use for project management, but have something so that everything is in the same place. So you're not scrambling, looking through emails to say, okay, what style was I supposed to use with this document, or what was the due date, or whatever. Have it all in one place. Okay, that's really going to save you time and make sure that you're not making mistakes, submitting documents late, and so forth. Okay, so let's just final things. I'm happy to answer questions anyone has. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, check out my website, email me if you have questions. If you, yeah, I do business coaching. So if you want business coaching, but I'm always happy just to answer questions people have about freelancing. So, any questions that you want to ask right now?
Any questions? I'm going to add too. So I just and I don't know if you know Erin Cervais, Suzy. She has so she has the AI for editors course now, and I took that
Mm-hmm.
one. And that was like one of the things that she kind of teaches is like macros on steroids. It's amazing, like of how to use ChatGPT to write a macro for you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or how what I've used it for is proper nounalize, which I loved to help me do the word list on my style sheets. But the other day, it occurred to me, I'm like, I wonder if I feed my proper nounalized list into ChatGPT and ask it to extract the names, people names out of there, or city names,
Mm-hmm.
and have that, and it did it. It was very close to perfect, but I was like, that was a great, because if I had to do that, I would have spent at least an hour or two just looking at names of people names that needed to be
Mm-hmm.
extracted. So but the macro thing I think is it's intimidating, but for sure something that as editors we should be using.
Yeah. And like I said, Paul has created a lot of macro videos to walk you through it. He is the nicest person. Like you can email him and he will create a macro for your specific need. But he's done a lot of training, just done a lot of provide a lot of opportunities for people to learn about macros and to feel don't feel too intimidated to get started. So if you do feel intimidated, check out some of his resources
Yeah.
to help
He has,
get
I
you
think, a
into it.
YouTube channel too that is really
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
party people. I know we have questions and she only has a few minutes, so this is the time to ask and or say what you liked or what you plan on using.
Yeah, I'll chime in. Suzy, first of all, just thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise. I'm curious about the networking piece. You mentioned early on about like tracking down people on LinkedIn. This is a challenge that continues to perplex me. I almost all the connections I have received have become because somebody else like connected me with a person. But like when I go out hunting on my own, it often seems really difficult to even find proper information. Like a couple times I've called publishing houses and just gotten run around, or like I go on
Mm.
LinkedIn and there was actually one odd publishing house. It was a hybrid publisher where every name that I found linked to the publishing house was actually a client. I could not find any staff like that named that company as the place where they worked. So I guess I'm just curious if you have any reflections on your personal experience or tips on like how do you even find the person to talk to?
Yeah, that can be tricky. I found that in recent years, there are more scams, spam, so forth on LinkedIn, so you do have to be careful. There have been some posts I've seen recently that I think have been scams. And so you do have to vet. And so I think what you did of like researching that publisher and saying, oh, these are all authors, not employees. I think that uh, is a good, being aware of and saying, okay, maybe this is not a legit publisher or it's a scam version of the publisher, like it's a replica that's not legit. And so I think a good way is to see people who is active on LinkedIn. And so if you post something and see who responds. So for example, yesterday I posted something on LinkedIn and somebody responded and she wasn't a connection with me, but she had a great response. And so I then connected with her afterward. And so that's expanding my network. And so that's expanding my network to give me access to some of the people in her network too. And so I would say that's one of the things you want to do if you don't have too many connections on LinkedIn yet. Work on getting more connections because the more connections you have, the more access you have to other people outside of your just kind of inner circle. But look, whether you make posts or respond to other people's posts, see who else is responding to those posts and see what are their jobs and are they people you can connect with. And so maybe you respond to somebody's post and somebody else does, and you see that person's job title and you say, oh, that could be an interesting connection, or that, that person is working at a publishing house. And so then maybe you respond to that person's post or that person's comment on a post, and then also send them a connection request and say, I appreciated the response that you made on this post, and I'd love to connect with you. So again, it's kind of a longer term thing. It's not a super fast of, oh, just connect with this managing editor at Penguin Random House. Like it does take some time, but there are definitely, they will post on there, or people within their network will share a post. And so it's just taking the time to figure out, okay, who do I need to be following and commenting on their posts to get more into that circle of people at publishing houses that I want to work with. Does that make sense? Like it can be tricky. Sometimes you can just Google, or not Google, but on LinkedIn, search for a company and you can find that company on LinkedIn, Penguin Random House, and then click on it and then it'll show a list of various employees there. So that's kind of the easy way when it has that. But otherwise, it takes a little bit more researching. One another program you can use is Hunter.io, and that you can get contact information for people at different companies. Some of the uh some of the information you do have to have a paid account to access, but it can, if you can't find the information on LinkedIn, that's another place that you can go to see if you can get the information there. But it's all about that network. And so you want to really expand your network so you have more access to people and your connections network. And from there, that's kind of how you get to where you wanted to go.
I also think, and Adam, I don't know if we've talked about this at other meetings. I like to go to all my local bookstores and introduce myself to the employees, to the manager, like, just kind of become a familiar face. And after maybe once or twice that I've been there, that I've gotten to, I do ask if it's okay to leave my business cards or if they would be interested in carrying my business cards as an editor. And usually they do say yes. Of course, I'm not talking about a Barnes and Noble, but I'm talking about the smaller local bookstores that are looking for those community connections to have. And then again, following those people on LinkedIn and seeing again, like Susie said, what are they posting? Who's commenting on their post and who are those people and what do they do? So, and the same thing with publishers or with the indie publishing world. I'm always kind of searching which are the publishing houses that I really like, who works there, are they on LinkedIn, and then what are they posting about, who's following them, to create that little extra layer of networking or people that maybe I need to be following.
Yeah, something else you can do is look in books that you've enjoyed that are in the genre that you want to edit and look in the acknowledgments because often the project manager or maybe an acquisitions editor will be mentioned in there. Sometimes the copy editor is, but often one of the editors. And honestly, that's how I made a connection with. So I published my freelancing book through the University of California Press. I looked in the copy editor's handbook to see what editor was acknowledged in there. And so then I knew that's the guy I needed to talk to in pitching my book to the University of California Press. So that's another thing you can do to kind of figure out, okay, who do I need to talk to? Uh,
I'm
so
laughing just because I do that with the copyright page and with the acknowledgement page. I will like skim through it to see who's the editor, who did this if I really
mhm,
like the book, and then I'll try to see where is that editor, or the acquisitions editor hanging out at,
mhm,
who worked on the book that I could connect with and tell them that I love the book and this is kind of work that I want to be doing as well. And so, yeah, it's very organic, if you
mhm.
will, I think. But I think that's why they're valuable connections if you get a chance to have them.
Yeah. And so
No,
you
thank you
just
both
have
for
to start somewhere and keep going. Sorry, what was that?
No, I apologize, didn't mean to talk over you. No, I just was no, thank you. That's really helpful. And that well, what you're both saying also reminds me of kind of a convergence with some other meetings I've been in recently is about like leaning into my strengths. Because I think there's a part of my brain that keeps thinking I have to become this kind of like business marketing mastermind when what I'm actually good at is interpersonal relationships. And it's like, okay, maybe I can't finagle a direct invitation to the party, but I can become friends with somebody who's already going to the party and I can become their plus one. Like, and if I can think more about what am I already good at and how can I lean into that to develop my business. So your both of your comments in that regard are really helpful. So thank you.
And I love the plus one concept, Adam. I think that's great. I have no shame in asking a fellow editor, hey, can I tag along to that? Like, is there any way you could get me in with you to that conference or can you introduce me? Yeah, I think the plus one concept, I think that needs to be the mantra going forward, at least for a few months, because I think that's a great idea.
And just going along with that, so research shows that it's not people in your inner circle who are going to send you most of the work. It's people in that second level, third level. And I've really seen that with me most like there have been people who I really don't know very well who have sent me work. I've asked, "Oh, how did you learn about me?" And it was somebody that I just barely know or that I've talked to a few times. And so it really is about those interpersonal relationships and not assuming that the person you make friends with is going to send you work, but assuming that that person is going to be talking with somebody who is saying, "Oh, I know somebody who needs an editor," and it gets back to you that way. So, yeah,
So true.
+1 is a good thing.
Any other questions for Suzy? Are you all going to secretly email her later? And Suzy,
Totally can.
if there aren't any other questions, we are at the hour, and I'd like to let Suzy get back to editing and doing what she does best. Thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing your expertise, for presenting it so casually in a way that's comfortable and so relatable. I think that's what really comes across. Thank you for being here today. I know on behalf of everyone that we're thrilled with you. Shared some really great food for thought questions. I really enjoyed the finance part and the balance, the work-life balance, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't really do the work that you're meant to be doing in a focused way, in a conscious way. So that was a great thing, and we don't talk enough about that probably. Is there, would you like to tell us anything else about we need to keep an eye out maybe for some new projects that you might have coming up?
Well, I was telling Linda beforehand that I am halfway through writing another editing book, but I don't know when that's going to come out. Other things, I've just, have my hands on a lot of different projects right now, books, articles, some government things. So just kind of, it's an
Great.
interesting time right now with lots of different things going on. I am doing some presentations, some training through some other sites, EFA. There will be some courses later this year. So,
Well,
ah,
definitely let me know, and I'm happy to trickle down the information to the group here. If there's a pre-order, when the next book is ready, let us know. I'm sure we'd all be happy to tag along to the pre-order or book reviews or, anything that we can do also to support you. We'd be happy to do that. So thank you so much for being here, and thank